It all started with a joke. Mike was sitting in a folding chair, under the sun, outside a juice bar in Venice Beach. The conversation was about internet clout, about how everyone had a camera now, and how real opinions disappeared the moment people knew they were being watched. That's when Mike leaned back, sipping his wheatgrass-laced smoothie, and said with that half-smirk he does, "Man, I wish people would say what they really think. Not to a screen. To me." That line got a laugh from his team. But Mike? He wasn't joking. That a week later, they were rolling. The idea was simple. Ridiculous, even. But it was so Mike that he called it, "Say It to My Face." A street segment, almost like a prank, but with a twist only Tyson could pull off. Here's how it worked. A host, some slick young guy with a mic and too much confidence, would walk up to random people on the street and ask one question: "What do you think about Mike Tyson?" The person would answer. Some would light up, "A legend. Scariest man alive, but in a good way. That dude changed boxing forever." Others would hesitate. A few would laugh nervously, and some weren't shy about being critical. "You mean the guy who bit someone's ear off? I don't trust celebrities who reinvent themselves every decade." I'd never say it to his face, but that's when the fun began. Right after they finished talking, right after they felt safe, Mike Tyson would step out from behind a nearby van or around the corner of a food truck. No warning. No music cue, just Mike, standing there, looking exactly like Mike Tyson. Now, the reactions, oh, man, pure gold. People screamed. People dropped their phones. One guy fell off a bench trying to run until Mike reached down and helped him up, laughing, and the best part: Mike didn't come out swinging. He came out smiling. Calm. Gentle, even. He'd walk up, offer a handshake, and say one line: "Would you say it to my face?" Some tried to backpedal, some doubled down. A few were frozen in disbelief, but the ones who had spoken kindly, the ones who'd shown admiration, respect, or just plain honesty, they got something extra. Mike would reach into his jacket, pull out a thick envelope, and say, "Thanks for the love. Here's $1,000. Real talk deserves real respect. Every single time." That part. It wasn't planned. Mike came up with it on the spot after the third shoot, when a kid with holes in his sneakers called him a fighter with a lion's heart. That moment hit him. People are so quick to tear each other down, he told his crew later. Let's lift someone up for once. The crew called it the knockout bonus, and just like that, "Say It to My Face" became something bigger than just a stunt. It was raw. It was funny. It was a bit terrifying, and it was totally, unmistakably, Tyson. That first day, they filmed on Hollywood Boulevard, tourists everywhere. Musicians in the background. People in superhero costumes charging $5 for selfies. The first person they stopped was a teenager with purple headphones. "Mike Tyson? Yeah, I guess he's cool. Bit before my time though." Then came an older guy in a Lakers jersey. Dude was an animal. In a good way. Scared everybody. Even the ring itself probably shook when he walked in. But it wasn't all praise. One woman, maybe late 40s, arms crossed and all business, looked straight into the mic and said, "Mike Tyson doesn't impress me. He's just good PR now. You can't punch your way into sainthood." The host gave her a polite nod. Interesting take. Thanks. Then, like clockwork, Mike stepped out. No intro. No warning. The woman froze. Not for a second, for a full 5. Her lips parted. Her eyes darted around, like she was searching for the closest non-Tyson exit, and Mike, he just raised one eyebrow and said, "I heard you." Her mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. I didn't mean it like that," she said, suddenly very polite. "You said what you felt," Mike replied, calmly. "That's okay." There was no yelling. No finger pointing, just Mike. Quiet. Present, and then he said, "Next time, maybe say it with more kindness. Even when you're mad." She nodded. Apologized. He nodded back, and just like that, they moved on, but not before the host whispered to Mike, "That was ice cold, man. Mike smiled. That day, 6 people got the knockout bonus point. One of them cried. One tried to give it back. A college student used it to buy textbooks. A street performer used it to buy dinner for his whole group, and all of it, caught on camera, raw reactions. Honest words. And a living legend reminding people that speaking your mind doesn't mean losing your heart. The episode didn't air yet. Mike wanted to test more cities first, but if day one was any sign, Say It to My Face was going to blow up, and Mike, he didn't need to sell it. That he just needed to show up, because there's something powerful about standing right behind your name, especially when your name is Mike Tyson. They picked the Bronx for the second shoot. Mike's old stomping grounds. Not because it would be easier, but because it would be real. If people in New York say they love you, Mike told the crew, they mean it. And if they don't, they really mean it. The van pulled up near Grand Concourse just after noon. The setup was simple again: wireless mic, a camera tucked inside a delivery backpack, and the same smooth-talking host, Corey, who Mike had nicknamed Mr. Microphone. His job was to ease people in, get them talking before they realized they were talking to millions. First few interviews went well. A young woman with a nose ring smiled wide. Tyson. That man's a living museum. Like, you gotta respect the rage, you know. A barber on his smoke break nodded. You ever seen those uppercuts? Felt like the earth tilted when he threw them. Mike smiled from his hidden spot. Bronx still had love. Then came a kid couldn't be more than 19, bucket hat, oversized hoodie. Corey asked the question. The kid laughed. Man, Mike Tyson ain't all that. People just hype him 'cause he was crazy. Like, sure, he fought, but dude was wild off the ring. Y'all act like he's a saint now. That's fake, bro. His voice carried. People turned. Corey just nodded, thanked him, and stepped back like always. That's when Mike stepped out. The kid's eyes went wide. He stuttered back a full step. Oh yo, Mike raised a hand. Not angry. Calm. You said I'm fake. The kid blinked. I mean. I was just saying, like, people switch up on the internet, you know. Mike stepped closer, not menacing, but firm. I get it. People change. I've changed. Doesn't mean the past didn't happen. But I didn't ask to be a saint. I'm just a man who learned. The kid nodded, maybe still processing the fact that Mike Tyson was standing 3 feet away. You said it with your chest, Mike added. So I respect that. Then he turned to walk away. No envelope. No bonus. But also no shame. That was part of the point too. Later that day, they stopped by a basketball court near Yankee Stadium. It was noisy, hot, and crowded. Perfect. Corey picked a man in his late 50s wearing a Knicks cap. Mike Tyson, the man repeated. Let me tell you something. That man made the city proud. When I was younger, we used to throw fight parties just to watch him knock someone out in under a minute. I tell my grandkids, Tyson was so fast, he punched the idea of you. He laughed. No matter what happened in his life, I still see him as the king of the ring. Cue the cue. Mike came out from behind a fence. The man turned, saw him, and his whole face lit up. Mikey, he shouted, like they'd known each other forever. Tyson grinned. They hugged. Not a bro hug. A real, strong, two-handed one. You kept the crown, champ, the man said. Even when it got heavy. Mike reached into his coat. For the respect, he said, handing over the envelope. 1,000 for being real. The man held it like a medal. You serious? Mike nodded. Always. A few hours later, a group of teens on scooters rode by. Corey flagged one down. You know Mike Tyson? The teen shrugged. Heard of him. My uncle says he was like, the boss of boxing. Bit someone's ear off too, right? A pause. He's still alive? Mike stepped out. Alive and listening. The kid yelped, nearly lost his balance, then cracked up laughing. Yo! You real. By sundown, the crew had 6 reactions, for surprises, and 3 knockout bonuses handed out. But there was one moment that didn't get filmed. After packing up, Mike stood by the van for a while, just looking out at the street. When I was a kid, he said, I'd walk 5 blocks just to steal a sandwich. Now I'm out here handing out stacks just for being kind. Life's weird, man. Corey chuckled. You think people are starting to get it? Mike didn't answer right away. He just nodded slowly. Maybe not all of them. But the ones who do, they don't forget. That night, the episode teaser went live. No captions. Just the question across the screen, would you say it to his face? They chose Vegas next. Mike's second home, glitz, noise, flashbulbs, but also the place where the myth of Mike Tyson was written in real time. The casinos, the comeback fights, the chaos. This time, the crew had a new idea: film on Fremont Street during the day, then move to the Strip at night. Daylight honesty, neon reactions. That IT started strong. A pair of Australian tourists couldn't stop smiling. Mate, Tyson's the only boxer I'd never fight, even for $1 million. You just know he's got that switch. They both cracked up. Mike watched from behind a smoothie cart, sipping something green and looking completely at peace. They get it, he said. A bellhop on break offered a philosophical take. He lived fast, fell hard, came back. You don't gotta love everything he did. But you have to respect who he became. That earned him a knockout bonus on the spot. The bellhop held the envelope like a backstage pass to a new chapter of life. My mom's rent just got paid, he whispered. But then came a moment no one expected. A woman in her 30s, sunglasses, heels, and a tote bag that looked expensive, paused when Corey asked the question. Mike Tyson, she said, slowly. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I don't trust men like him. People make excuses for guys who get violent just because they're famous. I don't care how much he's changed. Corey nodded, said his usual thank you, and stepped back, but Mike didn't come out. The crew waited. Corey looked toward the alley where Mike was standing, just out of view, still nothing. 5, maybe 10 seconds passed. Finally, Mike stepped out, not with the swagger or mischief of the earlier surprises, but slower, more measured. The woman turned and saw him. Her face froze. But unlike others, she didn't jump or stammer. She just looked at him. I heard what you said, Mike said, voice soft. She didn't flinch. And? Mike paused. I'm not here to scare people. I'm just trying to see if people still believe people can grow. There was a silence, then she said, I believe in growth. I just don't believe everyone means it. He nodded once. That's fair. Then he turned and walked away. No handshake. No envelope. No cameras rushing in, just 2 people, standing under desert sunlight, carrying the weight of very different lives. Later that night, the crew moved to the Strip. It was chaos: lights, noise, street performers dressed as Elvis. They stopped a guy who looked barely 21, chewing gum and holding a drink. Mike Tyson. That guy's a legend. You kidding me? I watched The Hangover like 20 times. Dude punched a tiger or something, right? The crew laughed. Corey clarified gently, it was a guy, not a tiger. Oh. Still legendary. Mike came out, gave him a playful slap on the back. The kid nearly dropped his drink. I'm not in every movie, kid, Mike said, smiling. You should be. The guy said that he got the envelope too. Didn't even open it, just yelled, Mike Tyson gave me money, and ran off into the lights. But back at the hotel, Mike was quiet. Not moody. Just thoughtful. Sitting by the window, still in his black hoodie, Corey came over, still riding the energy of the day. Yo, we killed it out there. Vegas loves you. Mike nodded. Some do. Some still see the old version of me. Corey Saturday, you okay? Mike looked out at the strip, lights blinking like they were trying to compete with the stars. You know what's funny, he said. People always say they want the truth. But sometimes, when you give it to them, they hand it back. He wasn't bitter. Just real, Corey asked, you wanna stop the show? Mike turned and smiled. Nah. This is the show. They were filming in Brooklyn now, not for flash, not for noise, but for roots. Mike had grown up in Brownsville, and even though the crew avoided the exact block where things once got rough, the energy was different here. No tourists. No gimmicks. Just locals, real people, moving fast, talking fast, and always watching. The crew set up near a basketball court tucked between apartment buildings. It was warm for the season. Kids dribbled past. Someone grilled on a tiny folding barbecue right on the sidewalk. Corey looked around. This ain't Hollywood, he muttered with a grin. Mike, standing behind a parked van, nodded. That's why I like it. The interview started smooth. A guy in his 60s, toothpick between his teeth, said, Mike Tyson. That man had the hands of God and the demons of hell. But I ain't never stopped rooting for him. Mike came out, smiled, handed him an envelope. The guy teared up, didn't even try to hide it. You made us proud, even when you couldn't see it. But then right before they were about to pack up, a voice called out from across the sidewalk. Yo, Mike. Mike looked up. He knew that voice. It didn't belong to a stranger. It was Reggie Santiago, same block. Same shelters. Same boxing gym back in the day. They'd shared gloves before they ever shared hope. But unlike Mike, Reggie never made it out. He stayed. Did a couple short bids. Worked odd jobs. Disappeared from headlines, never from the streets. Now he was here. Beard thicker. Eyes still sharp. Walked right up to the camera setup like he owned it. Corey looked unsure. Mike stepped forward. Reg, he said, half smiling. Reggie didn't smile. He looked at the mic, then at Corey. You filming? Corey hesitated. Yeah. Cool, Reggie said. Then turned straight to the lens. You wanna know what I think about Mike Tyson? The crew froze. Mike didn't stop him. Reggie went on. I think this dude was a monster in the ring and a ghost outside of it. I think he broke more than bones. I think he ran when the hood needed him. And I think I missed my friend. Silence, not the awkward kind. The kind that hums in your chest. Mike didn't blink. Reggie looked at him now. You remember what we said when we were kids? Said if one of us made it out, we'd come back and pull the other one with us. Mike nodded slowly. I remember. You made it. And for a long time, I thought you forgot. The camera was still rolling. Mike stepped forward, close enough to take the mic, but he didn't. He looked Reggie in the eyes, and said, voice quiet but full, I didn't forget. I just didn't know how to come back without dragging the past with me. Reggie finally smiled. Not wide. Not easy. But real. That's all I needed to hear, he said. Mike reached into his jacket. Took out an envelope, held it out. Reggie raised an eyebrow. You trying to pay me off now? Nah, Mike said. Trying to say thank you. For keeping it real. Reggie took the envelope. You know I'm spending this on sneakers, right? Mike grinned. Better not be my size. They laughed. And suddenly, the crew exhaled. That night, the clip went up. No music. No edits. Just the raw moment. Within hours, it went viral. Not for shock. Not for laughs, for truth. Comments poured in. He faced someone who knew the whole story. This wasn't a show anymore. It was healing. I didn't expect to cry watching Mike Tyson talk to an old friend. But here I am. Even people who hadn't cared about boxing shared the clip. There was something about watching two men with shared scars standing in front of a camera, not to fight, not to accuse, but to understand each other that hit people. The next day, Mike didn't film that he went back to the same court. No crew. No cameras. Just him and Reggie. 2 chairs. Some food. Hours of conversation that I know footage of that exists, but when the crew returned the day after, Mike looked lighter, not because he'd settled a score. But because he'd settled something. The offer came fast. After the Brooklyn episode went viral, calls poured in from streamers, late-night shows, even one of the major networks. They wanted to buy Say It to My Face, polish it, package it, and put it on prime time, bigger budget. Branded set. Professional lighting. Studio segments. Celebrity cameos. Mike listened, nodding politely as producers pitched him everything but a theme park ride that he said nothing at first, but the next day, instead of showing up for a new shoot, Mike called Corey and the crew to his house. No cameras. Just coffee. I think it's time we stop, he said. Corey blinked. Stop the show. Mike nodded. We made our point. But it's blowing up, Corey argued. Man, you've got people crying in comment sections. I know, Mike said. That's why we stop now. The room went quiet. Mike leaned forward. When we started this, it wasn't about followers or sponsors. It was about truth. About people saying what they really feel, and standing in it. We gave them that moment. And they gave it back. He stood, walked over to a window. I'm not a brand. I'm just a guy trying to hear the truth. And that truth doesn't need a trailer. So they ended it. No grand finale. No press tour, just one final upload that it was different from the others. No streets. No strangers. Just Mike, sitting alone in a chair in front of a blank wall that he looked into the lens. You watched us surprise people. You watched people speak their minds. Some were kind. Some weren't. But every one of them showed something rare, honesty. And I didn't judge them. Because I've been judged enough for one lifetime. He paused. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I just wanted to listen and remind people that you don't have to be afraid to speak. Just be ready to stand behind your words. And if you're gonna talk about somebody, talk like they might walk up behind you. A small smile crept across his face. Thank you for watching. But more than that, thank you for thinking. That's the real reward. Then the screen faded to black. No outro music. No logo. Just silence, but the message stuck. A week later, someone spotted Mike walking through a farmer's market. No camera crew. No Mike. Just him and a paper bag full of oranges. A woman approached him, nervous. She smiled, then whispered, I said something nice about you once. On Twitter. Years ago. Mike grinned. Then I'm glad we finally met. She laughed. You're not gonna hand me an envelope, are you? Nope, he said, just respect. And that was the point all along, not the money. Not the reactions. Not even the name, just a man, out in the open, giving people a chance to say what they mean and maybe, just maybe, mean what they say. The gloves never went back on. Because it was never about fighting. It was always about facing the truth and walking away stronger.